Hello, my name is Alicia, and welcome to my Unnoticed Evil channel where I talk about the hidden evils in culture. And today I'll be discussing the factors that influence how much harm a wicked person can cause. Note that wicked people are limited in how much harm they can cause by themselves. A big factor is the surrounding environment or culture. For example, when bullying takes place, the amount of harm it causes depends on the surrounding culture. If the surrounding culture thinks that bullying is okay, then the harmful effects are magnified. You may even see casual bystanders laughing with the bully, which can make the victim feel worse. If, however, the surrounding culture hates bullying, then the harmful effects would be diminished. Rather than laughing with the bully, the bystanders would stand up to the bully, and the victim would be made to feel better. Now, evil thrives more, and its effects are magnified, when it takes place in a culture that endorses certain forms of evil as being normal and maybe even praiseworthy. A wicked person cannot do very much by him or herself. It is the surrounding culture that makes a difference. Now, in the context of this discussion, primary evil refers to those who actively do evil, and secondary evil refers to those who explicitly or implicitly defend the evil. Secondary evil not only does nothing to stop the evil from taking place, but will actively defend the evil and maybe even condemn those who are trying to stand against it. Note that when we defend evil, we may as well be evil ourselves. Now, there are many forms of secondary evil that can make a spark become a forest fire. One example is blaming the victim. Another example is Stockholm Syndrome and self-righteous victimhood. Another example is refusing to see evil for what it is, seeing it as just a different way of doing things. Then there's proclaiming evil as just being normal, just saying, well, that's how the world is. Then there's giving the benefit of doubt to no end, and also rules of politeness. So first, we'll discuss blaming the victim. Blaming the victim is a social psychological phenomenon in which individuals or groups attempt to cope with the bad things that have happened to others by assigning blame to the victim of the trauma or tragedy. Victim blaming serves to create psychological distance between the blamer and the victim, may rationalize a failure to intervene if the blamer was a bystander, and creates a psychological defense for the blamer against feelings of vulnerability. So when we blame the victim, we may as well be sending evildoers the message that they can victimize to their heart's content and not have to worry about accountability. Why? Well, because we'll blame the victims instead, so rest assured. Victim blamers are not really thinking about the wrong done by the perpetrator, let alone what punitive measures should be taken against a perpetrator. Instead of saying, it's your fault for doing this, victim blamers say, it's your fault that this was done to you. Victim blaming can be a coping mechanism by which people want to deny their vulnerability and deny injustice in the world. Yet even then, they are doing so at the expense of the victim. So I'm going to discuss how victim blaming can get so ugly. Let us say that there is some sexual harassment in the workplace targeted at young women. Someone shrugs their shoulders and says, well, I guess it just sucks being a young woman. Well, let's take animal abuse. Would you shrug your shoulders in the face of animal abuse and say, I guess it just sucks being an animal? Probably not. But animals are innocent, you may say. Still, you should not be granting rights to animals that you would not grant to fellow human beings. You see, there cannot be animal abuse unless animals are present. Does that mean that animals are the cause of animal abuse? Well, certainly not. It is the evil that causes animal abuse. And the same applies to sexual harassment. Now, for Stockholm Syndrome is a psychological response in which abuse or hostage victims develop positive feelings, loyalty, or even a bond with their captors or abusers, even defending them and refusing to escape when given the chance. Stockholm Syndrome is most often known for being a coping and or survival mechanism on the part of the victim, but in some cases, it may be laced with self-righteousness. It can be laced with a self-righteous mindset, where the victim says, hey, look at me, I'm so wonderful and so forgiving that I'm not only forgiving my perpetrator, I'm defending them. But you see, as nice and altruistic as it sounds, you're actually making it easier for your perpetrator to victimize more people. You're not really being forgiving, you're just being evil and stupid. Now, sometimes secondary forms of evil can just be a mindset. One evil mindset is refusing to see evil as being evil. For example, you can tell a lot about the character of a social media content creator by the kinds of content that they choose to put up. Is this content focused on helping people? How much does a content creator talk about him or herself or exalt himself? What are the implications of the content creator's messages? How do they react when people disagree? You see, good people and bad people will create content that has some differences. Some aspects of a content creator's material may be evidence that the content creator is a bad person, and we should recognize those red flags. But some folks, in their folly, just see these red flags as just a different way of doing things. They refuse to see evil for what it is, and hence implicitly defend it. Now, shrugging one's shoulders and muttering that's just how the world is also is defense of evil. It is an implicit declaration of certain forms of evil as being normal and not worth paying attention to. It may even call on the other person to ignore it and accept it as just a part of life. We see defending evil in this way is a serious offense because it multiplies the damage that evil can cause. To understand how serious this offense is, it's like making a spark into a forest fire. Note that a spark is highly visible to those present, but oxygen is invisible. Yet, oxygen is that force that makes a spark into a forest fire. Similarly, primary forms of evil are more visible, but secondary forms of evil are much less visible, yet create those cultural forces that allow for primary forms of evil to reap so much destruction. For example, a rapist cannot do much damage without the help of rape culture, including blaming of the victim. Bullying and harassment in the workplace will continue, and the effects will be amplified so long as the people shrug it off as being normal and just a part of life. Now, another secondary form of evil is rules of politeness, which when taken too far can create an environment where a spark becomes a forest fire. Rules of politeness can say things like, well, don't say anything bad about anybody, that's not nice. No room for trash talk. Or maybe bring it to them gently. Or don't show that, it will disturb people. This can sound very nice at first, but it actually can be evil in the end because it creates an environment where evil flourishes. And then there's giving people the benefit of the doubt. Giving the benefit of the doubt is not always appropriate. It can involve trusting people who are not meant to be trusted, and this can make the crap hit the fan. It can involve ignoring red flags that someone is up to no good. Now, they say that evil flourishes when the good guys sit aside and do nothing. But what I wonder is, are these good guys who are doing nothing actually good? Sometimes evil and selfishness can manifest itself as apathy. Take laid-back Larry. Laid-back Larry says he gets along with everybody. He's always chill. He never gets angry or upset. But you see, as likable as laid-back Larry can seem to be, something is wrong with him. He's apathetic. He doesn't care about anything or anyone. He's selfish. Laid-back Larry may even tease people who try to stand up to the world's injustices, saying they're worrying too much and need to chill out like he is. Laid-back Larrys of the world are a part of what makes a spark become a forest fire. Now, people who do secondary evil may not feel guilty, whether it be blaming the victim, telling people to dismiss evil as being okay, or trying to be polite. Yet, secondary evil is a serious offense. The spark cannot do much without the oxygen that makes it into a forest fire. When we defend evil, we may as well be evil ourselves. We are like an accomplice. We will more readily notice the primary evil, like rape, terrorism, theft. What we don't always notice are the people in the background that implicitly support it. Don't be one of those people.